Well, I've been in DFIR for so many years, more than 25 years now. And when the pandemic came, I'm traveling all the time, literally, like maybe 6 months or 8 months, sometimes out of home. And then the pandemic hit, and I'm at home, and I really didn't know what to do with all that time, right? So I started thinking, well, I've always loved AI. In 2020, AI was really starting to be to pick up, not really generative AI, which actually was born in 2023, but in general, algorithms and all these things started to be able to be practically applied to different fields. And all of a sudden, I realized that there was really almost nothing in the world of threat detection and response in terms of AI usage. Yeah, there were some vendors that were trying to apply some of the advances, but it was very, very vendor-centric. I could say it's still very, very vendor-centric. So I said, well, there are these so many cool new algorithms which do a lot of cool stuff. I'm pretty sure this can be used for threat detection and response, right? And I'm not saying in the products, I'm saying as the general forensicator, can I actually do something to use these things and make my life easier? And that's how our project, Data Science Forensics, was born, okay? I started to build, to research on algorithms. Obviously, one of the things that as a forensicator, as an incident responder, and as a threat hunter, I'm concerned about is about finding the malicious threat actors as soon as possible and being able to identify malicious activity in computers through different artifacts, right? So I said, well, I'm pretty sure that some of these algorithms can help me identifying malicious behavior. And how do I define malicious behavior? Well, most of the time, malicious is anomalous. Not all anomalous behavior is malicious, but malicious behavior is anomalous. So I'm going to be trying to figure out how can I use algorithms to do to detect threat activity in the systems. And then this is how our project, Data Science Forensics, DS Forensics, was born. Data Science Forensics was an attempt to use data science and artificial intelligence applied to DFIR. We created a library called Chrysalis, started being a small project. Now it's been adapted also to Gen AI and other things. We created the virtual machine to be able to make things easier. And our final objective was to have the forensicators be able to use all these tools without knowing AI, okay? You don't want to be an expert in AI. You don't want to need to know the algorithms. You don't want to need to know how things work at the low level, because believe me, it's very complex, okay? Being able to send something to like log on activity to a machine learning algorithm is very complex. So what we created is this layer of let's say, functions that allow users or forensicators be able to use artificial intelligence and data science in a very easy way. We've been presenting this throughout the last few years in different forums. I'm not going to be going into the algorithm part of our research, but in 2023 is the big day for generative AI. Why? Well, actually, it started a few years later. In 2017, there is a paper which is called All You Needed Is Attention, which is a game-changing moment, right? That's when there is an evolution to a model called transformers, which are some algorithms which are behind ChatGPT and the others. And that's where really generative AI was born, okay? It took like about 6 years, till 2023, to see a real world implementation of generative AI for the public, like the release of ChatGPT, okay? So now our focus during we continue to do all these other things, because obviously, if you're looking for a method to detect malicious stuff, typically you need to go to narrow AI, which is all these algorithms. But we have been evolving to look also in how to maximize AI generative AI for our work, right? And I've been doing several presentations at previous SANS conferences at the in which I've been presenting about how to use generative AI for our purposes. You're going to be finding the links in the presentation and also the QR. And I will give you a reference at the end so you can easily go to our website to see more references. But the idea is the following. We started like, okay, without too many complications, how can we use generative AI for our daily job, okay, for our generic things? Things like, can generative AI, ChatGPT generate JAR rules for me? Can it generate Sigma rules for me? Can it generate scripts, do task automation, process EDR, XDR alerts, analyze unstructured data, write cybersecurity reports, write EDR queries or XDR queries, or do code analysis and reversing? Okay, I'm not going to be running this demo. There is a demo that you will be able to find in our YouTube channel, because I have already presented in other SANS conferences, okay? So I don't want to repeat myself. But all of a sudden we realized that, oh, you know what? Gen AI can do fantastic with all these things. And it can save me a ton of time by just being able to do that, okay? So our next thought was, okay, let's go one step farther. I've identified that Gen AI can help me in terms of solving specific tasks, but let's be more ambitious. Let's try to replace the human in certain parts of our, let's say, workflows, okay? You're seeing here a typical workflow for a threat hunter or for a forensicator. At the beginning, what you need to do is get some cyber threat intelligence, like searching in CTI sources, looking for actor TTPs, etc. Then create a threat landscape of the actors that are applicable to you. Then design a certain number of threat hunting hypotheses in your threat hunting process. Then you will translate those hypotheses to the EDR queries. You will analyze the alerts, confirm or discard some of the hypotheses, analyze the results. And out of those results, which are really cool or really interesting, what you will do is you will have in your incident response team, or maybe a mix of your threat hunting team and incident response team, to go deeper and probably do a triage, do a deep dive of the system, run forensic tools, analyze forensic artifacts, etc. Okay, that's typically how you do things in DFIR, okay, from cyber threat intel to digital forensics. Now the question is, can generative AI replace our work in some of these steps? Yes, no, is it science fiction? Well, the reality is, it is, of course, science fiction as of today, that you can have ChatGPT or any other of the Gen AI engines to do all this for you and do all your work. I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen for the good and for the bad, right? So we will still have a job for a while. But can we replace parts of this? And the answer is yes. Okay, what we've been doing is that throughout this process, some of these things can actually be replaced by generative AI. In general terms, you will need to revise or review the output of the work, okay? So it is able to generate hypotheses. It is able to do the analysis of certain forensic artifacts with a twist that is precisely what I'm going to be presenting now. It is able to do reporting and many things, but it will need human support in certain places, okay? I'm not going to be elaborating. I'm seeing some of the attendees yesterday in my workshop, so I'm not going to be repeating this. We were doing that yesterday, but the magic here is that LLM agent that you're seeing there, which is able to provide orchestration of the execution of different forensic and other tools and reports and documentation searches and everything for the LLM. So the LLM is, let's say, can only do text searches, etc. But in reality, with the support of AI agents, it can go to the real world and do some other much more powerful things. So as of today, we have identified that there is a number of things that we can do. Now, all this research came to a point where some of our customers started asking us, hey, that's very cool, but can you help me actually do that in my real infrastructure with my real problems? And that was super interesting, right? Because all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's take this out of the lab and let's try to do this in the real world. Okay, you see here some advances. I'm going to be skipping that part. So the idea now is so we sat with several of our customers asking, what are your problems? What are you trying to do that you think AI can help you? And then we sat with them asking them, hey, we're going to be seeing in which parts of your workflows we can replace you guys with AI, so you can do not for the bad, for the good, because that way you can do things which are more productive, right? Rather than just looking at alerts. So on top of all the other things that I've just been presenting in the previous slides, all these threat hunting, CTI, and forensics workflows, one of the things that we found when we were taking this to the real world was the difficulty to put these things together. Okay, why? Because in the lab, we already have all these components together, right? We have access to the different tools, to different CTI, we can have access to the internet. One of the realities is that we went to try to put this in the real world. Our customers didn't have the different connectors in the same place. So when we said, okay, can we connect your CM for the AI to look here and then look there? It's like, oh, no, that's not possible, because the different systems are in different locations, different network segments, different even political, under different political umbrellas. So one of the things that the conclusion in the real world of what we're seeing is that we need to evolve as organizations to be able to implement this, okay? It's not, we are now in a very human-centric approach where all the different components are very much used to do manually. And if you want to implement AI, it is possible, but we will need to evolve our systems in a much more integrated fashion, okay? Carefully, of course, but in a much more integrated fashion. So going down to some more specific points now, one of the challenges we've had in this process is how to make our generative AI engine. I'm going to be talking here about ChatGPT, which for these purposes is the most advanced that we have in the market right now. How do we actually implement additional knowledge in our ChatGPT engine? Okay, because ChatGPT, as you know, it was trained originally till a couple of years ago. It knows a lot of stuff. It is very good at programming in Python, for instance. It knows a little bit of how to write EDR queries or SQL, a little bit, but of course it's not going to be able to write specifically, able to know what are the characteristics of the latest forensic artifacts, or how to write in the query in the latest CrowdStrike query language or Palo Alto or whatever you're using, right? So there is a need to augment the forensic knowledge and of the Gen AI with additional context, okay? And that's not a problem. For the most part, we are able to include, when you're doing a ChatGPT query, you can include a additional test or additional documentation, so ChatGPT learns about about all that forensic knowledge. But you know the problem technologically, that's mostly a technological problem. We have a limitation, okay? Basically, ChatGPT and the other engines, you cannot feed them, let's say, 1,000 page document. It's not possible. Why? Because the technology does not make it, at least not for the general public. If you have your own engine, you could do that, but not for the general public. So how can you solve this problem? Okay, imagine you have, I don't know, an encyclopedia of forensics and all the manuals of your EDR and all the threat reports from all the different vendors and all the CTI, all the feeds. It's there. You can feed it to the Gen AI. But the problem is that it's too much, right? Because it's not possible as of today to give all that knowledge to the Gen AI in the prompt. So what we need to do is what you're seeing in the screen now, okay? On the left on the right, you have the generative AI, ChatGPT. You want to ask a question, what's the main tactics threat actors in 2024? And then there's going to be, I can provide some data to it, in order for it to answer the question. Like, for instance, I could provide a number of threat reports and a number of feeds and a number of things, right? The problem is the limitation is in size. So what we need to come up with is with a solution where that we, well, it's a standard solution called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. What we will do, as you're seeing on the screen on the left, is you have your CTI report, and we're going to be doing a process of chunking, which is dividing the report in different pieces. Okay. Then after that, what we're going to be doing is a similarity search or keyword search. I'm going to be explaining that a little more in the next slide. In order to do what? Okay, if I have a 1,000-page report, that's great, but not all the report is going to be containing all the interesting things that I need for my request, right? It's going to be pieces of that report that are going to be useful for me. So that's what similarity search and keyword search helps with. In selecting, first of all, dividing the reports in chunks and selecting those chunks that are interesting for the specific query I need, okay? Afterwards, what we're going to be doing is tokenization, which is dividing the words, let's say the text in different words. That's basically in the backend how ChatGPT and the other engines work. This tokenization part is very important because that's basically how they charge you. Okay, the money they charge is by token. So it's this process, it's important. For the most part, you can think of a token like a word, give or take, okay? So the number of words is the number of tokens you're spending. So, and in the end, what we will do is feed that information to the prompt, and the prompt will be able to use that in order to answer the questions. Okay, so in the end, what we're looking is at creating a forensic copilot, so to speak, which will be some type of engine that allows us to enrich the queries that we are sending to ChatGPT or other engine by providing not only the data, prefetch, auto-runs, app-compat cache, events, etc., but also the forensic knowledge. And we know that we will not be able to provide all the data, all the CSVs. Maybe you have thousands or even millions of alerts, right? Or text in your forensic data. You will not be able to provide all that because it's too much for the engine. It's not allowed. So what we will need is to put in place this copilot, which is actually a similarity search and keyword search engine that will allow you to somehow collect all these things or subtract from the whole evidence and from the whole knowledge those things that are relevant, okay? More and more, they're like, I mean, you have a couple of, on the lower right, you see flash text or FIs, which are basically keyword search and similarity search engines, which will allow you to turn all your universe of evidence and all your universe of knowledge into something which is relevant for the task you are wanting to approach, okay? If you do this small thing, I mean, it can be as simple as using this for doing queries before you send it to your engine. Don't think about something super difficult or complicated. You will be converting your search or let's say your analysis into something doable. Okay, have a ton of knowledge, a ton of evidence, a ton of manuals I want to feed. I run all this stuff through this similarity search and keyword search, and that ton of data becomes a subset which is small enough to be fed into the Gen AI. Okay, so now we are converting an impossible problem into something possible. And I'm going to be moving now to a couple of examples on how we are using Gen AI into real-world cases. First of all, remember that when you're using Gen AI, what you're using I mean, if you go to the web interface, the ChatGPT web interface, you are not using an LLM. You are using a forensic agent. If it was just an LLM cannot go to the internet to look for stuff. An LLM cannot use tools. An LLM can only interact directly with text, okay? What you're seeing when you interact with ChatGPT is actually an agent which is going to be allowing the LLM behind ChatGPT to be able to go to the internet and do all these other tool executions that make ChatGPT, the ChatGPT interface so powerful. For those of you who are programmers, if you use the ChatGPT API, you are accessing the LLM, not the agent. So the LLM, if you make a query through the API, you will not be able to ask it, go to the internet, search this, search. No, it's not possible. The LLM is just, remember, receiving queries of natural language and answering to those queries. So let's go to a very simplistic, or relatively simplistic, but extremely useful case study that we have implemented recently in a banking customer. Basically, they were, of course, they were doing in their SOC all the priority alerts. You know, you receive millions per day, but they were worried about any of those smaller alerts that they were not monitoring because, well, we're not looking because they're just smaller, right? So you only look at the top priority ones, the other ones, just don't look at them. So they were like, we are always with this thing. If there is going to be something hidden there that we are missing, can we do something with AI which actually is able to look at all these alerts and figure out if there is something of interest? And basically, that's one of the things we did, right? First of all, before I go into the demo, one thing that you may want to know if you're using ChatGPT is the possibility to create custom GPTs. That's super useful. It's super easy to do. You go to the My GPT section where it allows you to create your GPTs. And what basically it allows is to create a specific GPT for the specific type of thing you want to do. So imagine you want a GPT to help you with CTI, with cyber threat intelligence. And in order to do that, you are going to be including these parts of these reports and these feeds, which are important for you in every search, in every query you do. Well, you can do that and say, hey, this is the knowledge and this is the files that you're going to be needing to know before I make you a query in this specific custom GPT CTI engine, okay? And then you will not have to provide that specific knowledge every single time you guys do your query. So it's very useful. It's very stupid, let's say, very simple, but extremely useful in your day-to-day. Let me jump to a small demo about this case study that will show you how to summarize, how effective it is to summarize these queries, these other additional queries, okay? Other additional alerts, sorry. There you go. So what you're seeing here now, well, you're seeing nothing. Let's see. Starts, there you go. Oh, this is how you create, first of all, this is how you create the assistant, okay? As I was mentioning, you go to your My GPTs or custom GPTs, and as you can see, it's super easy. It will ask you, give me the instructions that the GPT needs to know before I mean, to complement the query you're going to be doing. And then additionally, add any other text or any other report or anything that you may want to know. And as you can see here, what I'm doing is adding some additional tests like be compact, but include relevant information for the cybersecurity stuff, including the description of IOCs, including public IP addresses, exclude private IP addresses in the report. The results should be in JSON with the format, Okay, so that will allow me to avoid having to repeat this query these instructions every single time that I'm going to be doing this query. On the second part, as I was saying, I'm going to be including, for instance, the Red Canary report. Red Canary is a service provider which provides this regular report on the most important threats, and it's super useful in order to enrich your CTI. So we're going to be providing that as an addition to our custom GPT. And then when we save that, every single time we do a query, it will automatically include that knowledge and those instructions in the report. What I'm going to be doing now is what I was saying before, right? I have a number of alerts that my SOC has not been able to analyze, and I want to know if those alerts are relevant, if there is something interesting there, or at least have an overview of all these alerts. What's in there? What type of alerts I'm suffering? If there is something which I should know about. As you can see, I'm pasting all those alerts in my on my interface, and I already asked him to summarize those alerts. And as you can see, he's actually organizing and classifying all those other alerts in a way that in a compact way with some explanation of what each of the alerts is, and important relevant information like the timestamps or any relevant IP address or username that it has been found. So instead of analyzing hundreds of alerts, you will have a compact report of anything that may be relevant. Okay, so once again, it's not magic, but it's one of those things that is really, really useful to get additional monitoring of your network. Okay, and as you can see, if I say extract all the IOCs you find here, it's going to be telling me that it has found a number of IP addresses and also a very interesting file name called update.js. And then I'm going to say, hey, based on the internal CTI sources, which by it can be one of the sources is the CTI report. Remember the Red Canary report I just uploaded. Based on those CTI sources, tell me if you find any relevant information that you consider is dangerous for me. Okay, and basically it says searching my knowledge. You see, it's interesting. It's like searching the data that I have provided. And the file update.js is associated with the saucy Gaulish malware family. That information was not retrieved by ChatGPT from the internet or from his internal training. It was actually retrieved from the report, together with some other data, with some other information that you're now seeing in the screen and are going to be going about. Okay, so as you can see, it's easy and it's very fast and very useful to actually be able to complement the searches that you're doing with some additional valuable information and get these two things working together. Let me go to the second example, which is, or the second use case, which is data analysis. This is basically another real use case that one of our customers asked us is like, can we create a workflow in which we can basically use natural language to investigate? One of the things that this solves is the ability to complement the knowledge of your incident response and threat hunting teams with additional knowledge from ChatGPT. It is, as you very well know, very difficult today to have to retain talent, to find talent, to basically have a team of experts. So ChatGPT comes to complement, in many cases, all this by the means of the additional knowledge that the platform can bring together with the knowledge you have provided. So let's go for this case, okay? What I'm going to be doing is in this case, what we're going to be focusing on is on a set of VPN logs. I'm going to be uploading these VPN logs to ChatGPT. And as soon as I do that, you see that ChatGPT says, oh, okay, what you just provided has these many sources. What do you want me to do with them? Okay, so one of the interesting things that you can see over here is that in the black box is that ChatGPT's, in order to do this analysis, what ChatGPT really does is generate code, okay? This is Pandas, it's a library for data analysis, which is extremely powerful and relatively easy to use. So what ChatGPT is doing when you ask it a specific analytical task is code in Python, in Pandas specifically, the code that is needed to do that analysis, which is really cool. By the way, if you look, you can always look at the code and learn from it. Okay, that I'm learning all the time of the type of things that ChatGPT is actually the code it's generating. Okay, so now this is the VPN logs, and I'm going to be asking, hey, show login failure trends over time. I'm looking for things like brute forcing and things like that. That's a type of analysis that we're going to be doing regularly, right? One of the things, either in investigations or threat hunting or as part of our regular monitoring activities, one of the things that you need to realize is like many of the things that ChatGPT does is not really rocket science. We can do it. But what I would like you to consider when you're seeing these demos is like, how much analyst time could it take to do that? That's the key. Because the question is not, oh, this is science fiction. It's going to be doing something that we don't even think about. No. How much time and what analyst profile you're saving by getting ChatGPT do all these things. Okay. And then as you can see, what ChatGPT is doing is generating the code to be able to do that analysis. This is pandas, and it generates a graph which is showing you how is the failure profile in the network. Well, immediately we can see super fast that there is a peak there that we may want to analyze, okay? So after that, we analyze the graph. Clearly there is a peak, which is much higher than anything we've seen before. And then we say, to which time slot does the peak of failed connections shown in the graph correspond? Okay, as you can see, it's not really very complicated for any analyst. You don't need to be an expert to make the right questions, right? And then it's generating the code to answer the question. And it says the peak of failed connection corresponds to a specific date, April 9, 2024, with a total of 276 failed login attempts. Excellent. Okay, so what next? We may have suffered a brute force attack around this time. Can you confirm this hypothesis? Consider users, target matches, machines, and IPs on your analysis. Have you noticed that in every query that I make, I always put something which is very specific, telling him, do it this way? This, guys, is very important, okay? If you go to the workshop I was doing today, there is a number of hints. I will give you the URL at the end. And if you're using ChatGPT, make sure to follow these tips, because that makes the difference between having a seamless, smooth, and powerful ChatGPT experience or getting many of those biases and problems that you have these days with the technology, okay? It's very important to add these small details to the queries. So as you see, it says to confirm the hypothesis of a brute force attack around the time, I'm going to be doing this number of things. And then the analysis of the login attempts on April basically tell me that the user analysis, there are different failures for different users. The machine is a specific machine, and there is an IP address. The IP address has been sanitized because this is real world data, okay? So bear with me that this is really an IP address. The evidence of numerous failed attempts from a single IP address targeting one machine strongly supports the hypothesis that the brute force attack was attempted. Fantastic. Now, let's go one step further, okay? Can you please tell me if there is any successful login on the suspicious host after the brute force? As you know, this is something we always do. When you see a brute force, what you want to know if there's one of those attempts was actually successful, right? And let's see the analysis. Yes, there was a successful login on this host with this user from this IP. Then I ask it, create a graph with the timeline of the activity of host after the brute force campaign. Put on the y-axis the users and show failed logins in red and successful logins in green, okay? It cannot be very much more graphic. And guys, take a look at the results, which are, I think, very, very obvious, right? If you look at the data, you can clearly see over there how you see the brute force attack and the green dot telling you that there was a successful logon. So basically, this means we are in trouble, okay? So we see the brute force, we see the password strain, by the way, and to end up with, we're going to be asking, hey, one of those things that we all love, right? We forensicators and cybersecurity guys, we love to write reports for our managers. That's the thing we love the most, right? So let's ask ChatGPT to help writing the report. And as you can see, it writes a small report very quickly, saying this is the background, this is a summary of the findings, this is the characteristics, the post-attack activity, and the validation of post-attack results, and the conclusion and the recommendations, okay? So that's really, really, really nice. Okay, so basically the idea here, guys, and I think that's the most valuable part, is obviously you can think of many, many other examples, but I think the beauty of this is that you can actually take the analysis from a very, very, very technical thing like we've been always doing in our lives to a more follow the flow in terms of I want to know this or want to know that, and it does the analysis for us in a split second, okay? Now, we are working in many other use cases. I just wanted to elaborate a couple of them to basically highlight how easy it is to do. You should be doing that on your own. And well, to have the ability to move forward as a community, sharing all these things. So anyway, thank you very much. I think I'm a little bit over time. I don't know if we have time for questions. You can see down here my contact details. If you want to contact me, please feel free to do so. The project, my company, One eSecurity on the side. And also you have the link, this forensics.io, Sans AI 24, where you will find their presentations, our YouTube channel, and all the things that I've been referring to in this presentation. Thank you so much.